Welcome back, Tano. When I started working on Oraxia, I tested the usual Kuva Sobek and Acid Shells combo that everyone's running. It's insanely strong, with its tileset nuking capabilities when it synergizes with Oraxia's fourth ability, Silken Stride. But for this build, I went in a completely different direction, because I wanted something sharper, something more responsive, and honestly, something that lights up my screen with red crits. What you're about to see is my weapons platform Oraxia Build. It's built around a few things that work extremely well together. A subsumed Null Star with Neutron Star, Arcane Hot Shot, stacking off reliable heat procs, a red crit monster of a secondary weapon, and a Helminth Charger companion tuned for corrosive detonations and status saturation. All of it is layered around Oraxia's Silken Stride. Her movement, her explosions, her toxin infusion. And the result is a setup that shreds through steelpath with zero mercy. Let's start with Oraxia herself. Oraxia's passive is simple and incredibly effective. Wall latch, that's it. Do that. And she activates Predator's Lurk, which grants invisibility for 8 seconds. The best part? It doesn't break when you move or shoot. And if you're clinging to a ceiling or vertical wall, you get infinite latch time, letting you trigger Predator's Lurk with control and consistency. Her first ability, Mercy's Kiss, is a hard leap that locks onto a target up to 40 meters away. If the enemy is at or below 50% of health, it's an instant kill. And those enemies are clearly marked with an overhead spider claw icon, so you always know who's vulnerable. It deals toxin damage and has a guaranteed chance to drop health or energy orbs. The orb drop rates are affected by ability strength, and with a high strength build, this becomes a core part of your energy loop, especially when paired with Equilibrium. I've replaced Oraxia's second ability, Webbed Embrace, with Null Star using the Helminth system. The reason is because Webbed Embrace, while thematically strong, doesn't offer much value once you've committed to a damage-focused setup. The 50% damage vulnerability it applies isn't necessary when you're already stacking toxin and heat dots, and the crowd control it offers is redundant when you can stay invisible, kill on command, and detonate entire groups through Silken Stride. Null Star with Neutron Star, on the other hand, gives you a reliable, recastable source of heat procs with guaranteed status and solid range. It triggers Arcane Hot Shot consistently, which directly boosts the critical chance of your weapons. That synergy alone makes it a better fit for a weapons platform Oraxia. Add in the bonus survivability from damage reduction, even if capped lower on Helminth, and the ability to use Neutron Star actively as an area primer, and the trade is a no-brainer. Her third ability, Widow's Brood, fires a spread of darts that apply guaranteed toxin and impact procs. Enemies killed while marked spawn scuttlers. These are minions that swarm enemies and deal rapid toxin damage. They scale with the mission level and can trigger things like Arcane Camisado and Summoner's Wrath, stacking up your next ability cast and boosting all summon-related damage. Her fourth ability, Silken Stride, is the core of this build. It gives her bonus health, complete status immunity, toxin infusion on all ranged weapons, and causes enemies to explode with toxin on death. You can dodge to sling toward surfaces, wall latch automatically, and keep Predator's Lurk active almost permanently. Melee input during this form casts Mercy's Kiss, turning the whole thing into a seamless hybrid of toxin damage, invisibility, and movement control. Silken Stride also disables most conventional energy regeneration methods, so the build compensates for that. And we'll break that down when we get to the mod section. This part of the build is what ties the whole setup together. Every arcane, every mod, and every shard is selected to support one thing: turning Oraxia into a true weapons platform. She's not here to spam ability damage or sit back with crowd control. This build is built for uptime, survivability, and feeding status and crit bonuses straight into your weapons. Arcane Hot Shot is the first arcane and absolutely central to this build. It gives plus 6% weapon critical chance per hit status inflicted by abilities, stacking up to 50 times for a maximum of plus 300%. Every recast of Null Star with Neutron Star explodes the remaining particles and applies guaranteed hit procs in an 8-meter radius. That means constant hit status and constant Arcane Hot Shot uptime. This is where all the red crits are coming from. Arcane Camisado is the second arcane. It builds up bonus ability strength based on attacks from your summons. Specifically, the Scuttlers from Widow's Brood. Every time they land hits, they contribute to stacking up to plus 60% ability strength on your next cast. That bonus strength goes straight into Neutron Star explosions, Mercy's Kiss damage, and even Null Star's damage reduction. The aura slot is filled with Summoner's Wrath. This adds plus 75% damage to all companions and summons for the whole squad. In this build, that's a direct damage boost to your Scuttlers. Nothing else offers this level of synergy in the aura slot. In the Exilus slot, Power Drift gives plus 15% ability strength and plus 30% knockdown resistance. The strength is minor but useful. The knockdown resistance helps you keep control while navigating or latching mid-combat with Silken Stride. Now for the ability strength stack. Blind Rage brings plus 99% ability strength at the cost of minus 55% efficiency. Transient Fortitude adds another plus 55% strength but reduces duration by 27.5%. That penalty is negligible here, since Silken Stride has no set duration and the rest of the kit isn't reliant on timers. Precision Intensify gives plus 90% ability strength to the fourth ability, Silken Stride, and is what pushes your toxin explosions and weapon damage buff to massive levels. Archon Continuity is here to convert any toxin procs from your abilities into corrosive. That includes Widow's Darts, Scuttler hits, and Silken Strides on death explosions. It's a background layer of armor strip that happens passively while you play. Archon Vitality makes every hit proc from abilities happen twice. Since Neutron Star's recast explosions are guaranteed hit procs, this mod instantly doubles your Arcane Hot Shot stacking rate. Energy is handled with Primed Flow for a large pool, and Equilibrium for conversion, with Mercy's Kiss dropping, health and energy orbs, and Equilibrium turning those back and forth. You maintain a loop even while Silken Stride blocks most forms of energy regeneration. Neutron Star is the augment for Null Star. When you recast, the remaining particles explode in an 8-meter radius, dealing 240 heat damage with guaranteed status. That's the core primer for Arcane Hot Shot, and also a great tool for softening up enemy clusters or finishing off stragglers. Archon Shard setup includes 2 Tau Forged Emeralds with plus 45% toxin status damage each, boosting all toxin damage over time effects by plus 90%. One more, Tau Forged Emerald increases the corrosive status stack cap by plus 3, which stacks with Archon Continuity and Strain mods later. One Tau Forged Ember Shard is here to grant plus 45% energy field on spawn, purely for quality of life. One shard slot is currently left empty, And once I get another Tau Forged Emerald Archon Shard, it will go there with the same buff, increasing the maximum stacks of corrosive status effects by +3. That's the full Warframe setup. Every arcane, mod, and shard working to support your weapon. With that foundation in place, let's move into the weapon build and show how it all gets used. This is where the build really comes together. I'm using Dual Toxocyst Incarnon as my main weapon, not a primary. The goal here is red crits, high status uptime, and relentless volume of fire. The base weapon already has high status chance and a strong critical multiplier, but the real shift comes when you trigger Frenzy with a headshot. That turns a weapon into a monster. Once Frenzy is active, you get plus 150% fire rate, plus 100% ammo efficiency, minus 75% recoil, and plus 100% toxin damage. All of that stacks with your elemental mods. At that point, it's basically a continuous stream of red crits with 0 recoil and infinite ammo. No reloads, just rapid fire. On top of that, the Incarnon form gives it even more. Headshots build charge, and once the bar fills, a tap of Alt Fire transmutes it into full auto. Now it has higher critical stats, even more status chance, faster fire rate, and ricochet shots that can headshot additional enemies within 5 meters. And yes, those ricochets can trigger Frenzy again. Combine that with Punch Through and Multi-Shot, and you get overlapping area of effect and status primer chaining built into every shot. I selected Fevered Frenzy for Evolution 2. Every time you cast an ability, you gain plus 5% multi-shot, stacking up to 20 times. This weapon benefits immensely from multi-shot, especially in Incarnon form. Marksman's Hand was my choice for Evolution 3. It cuts recoil by 50%, and when combined with Frenzy's recoil reduction, it completely stabilizes the weapon. No aim drift at all. For Evolution 4, I chose Commodore's Fortune, which adds plus 20% base critical chance. That pushes the base crit up to 31%. And with the mods in this build, you land at 89% before any external crit bonuses kick in. The arcane I'm using is Secondary Innervate. Every hit adds plus 10% critical chance, stacking until you land 6 orange or red crits. Then it resets. This arcane supports high fire rate, red crit weapons perfectly, and Dual Toxocyst eats it up. Now for the mods. Galvanized Diffusion adds plus 110% multi-shot, and on kill it stacks up to plus 230%. That multiplies your hits, your status procs, and your ricochets. Galvanized Shot adds plus 80% status chance and gives massive damage boosts based on the number of unique procs affecting the target. With heat and toxin being applied constantly from your warframe and weapon, this mod stacks naturally and often. Galvanized Crosshairs gives plus 120% critical chance while aiming after any headshot, and on headshot kills, it stacks another plus 40% up to 5 times. That's plus 320% crit chance on top of everything else. Perfect for pushing into red crit territory. Prime Target Cracker adds plus 110% critical damage, and Prime Pistol Gambit adds plus 187% critical chance. These two are staples for red crit scaling and can't be skipped. Lethal Torrent adds plus 60% multi-shot and plus 60% fire rate. Combined with Frenzy and Incarnon form, the fire rate becomes a continuous stream of amplified hits. Pathogen Rounds adds plus 90% toxin damage. It combines with Frenzy's plus 100% toxin for a deep elemental base, feeding into gas if heat is present from Warframe abilities. Merciless Gunfight gives plus 45% critical damage and plus 1.2 punch through. The crit boost stacks with the rest, and the punch through lets you hit clustered enemies and generate more ricochets and status overlaps. This build is what makes Arcane Hot Shot sing. Neutron Star gives you reliable hit status. Silken Stride layers weapon-infused toxin. Then Dual Toxocyst converts all of that into blistering speed, massive crits, and explosive status coverage. It's fast, violent, and absolutely effective. The companion I'm using for this build is the Helminth Charger. It fits thematically with Oraxia and mechanically supports everything the build is trying to do. Spread status, generate orbs, strip armor, and apply corrosive damage across groups. I'm using Primed Pack Leader to keep the Charger alive. Mercy's Kiss, cast as a melee input while in Silken Stride, counts as a melee hit from my Warframe. Heal it for a plus 183 health per hit, and any excess healing grants Overguard, so it doesn't just survive, it stabilizes. Contagious Bond lets the Charger spread 50% of the status effects from any enemy it kills to nearby enemies within 9 meters. This is a natural fit since the Charger and your Warframe are both applying toxin, corrosive, and other elemental effects constantly. Duplex Bond is here to duplicate the Charger up to 3 times. Every time you spend 100 energy, you spawn a clone that lives for 30 seconds. These clones can't use abilities, but they can attack, and any enemy they kill has a 50% chance to drop an energy orb. Combined with Equilibrium, this becomes another layer of energy support. Synth Deconstruct gives you a 25% chance to spawn a health orb anytime an enemy is damaged by the Charger and dies. With Equilibrium in place, that becomes energy 2. This turns the Charger into a rolling orb factory. Strain Eruption is the first half of the Strain set. It causes the Charger's spawned maggots to explode on death for 4% of an enemy's current health as corrosive damage. This bypasses armor scaling and is great for softening enemies. Trample lets the Charger rush through enemies, dealing 160 base damage and gaining plus 10% melee damage, max health, and armor for every enemy hit for 5 seconds. It's not just mobility, it's a self-buff. Enhanced Vitality gives plus 250% max health to keep the companion durable and resistant to chip damage in steelpath. Momentous Bond activates on Eximo skills. It gives the Charger plus 120% of a random elemental damage type and shortens its recovery time. This allows the claw weapon to gain multiple elements at once and scale its offense. Vicious Bond is another layer of utility. Melee attacks from the Charger strip 15% armor from targets. If the target has been damaged by any of your abilities in the last 10 seconds, the armor strip spreads in a 9-meter radius. With how often Oraxia's abilities are being cast, this effect spreads constantly. Fetch is equipped to pull in loot, mods, and drops from up to 13.5 meters. That includes health and energy orbs from Charger kills and orb mechanics. This setup turns the Helminth Charger into a support disruption hybrid. It spreads status, supplies you with orbs, weakens armored enemies, and distracts aggro. Everything it does feeds back into your survivability, energy economy, and kill efficiency. The Helminth Charger's weapon is the Helminth Claw, and I've built it to do 3 things: deal heavy slash damage, scale crits, and spread elemental status. This isn't a passive weapon. It's tuned for real impact. I'm running Assassin Posture for the Claw's stance. It prioritizes Eximus and high-value targets and gives plus 300% overguard damage. That helps the Charger burn down priority targets in tougher missions. Bite is the core crit mod. Plus 330% critical chance and plus 220% critical damage. With this and the right synergy, you'll see frequent crit spikes from the Charger. Maul adds plus 330% melee damage, which gives the base strikes more weight. That stacks with other sources of bonus damage. Strain Fever boosts damage by plus 40% per active cyst. At max stacks, which you'll hit quickly with Strain Eruption in the build, this gives plus 320% bonus damage. It stacks additively with Maul for a massive damage total. Rhydon Claws adds plus 60% radiation damage and plus 80% critical damage. This gives us a second elemental layer and pushes crits even further. Magnetic Claws brings plus 60% magnetic damage and plus 40% status duration. That improves crowd control through longer debuff uptime and stacks another status type for scaling effects. Shocking Claws is key. It adds plus 330% electricity damage and plus 330% status chance, and it converts all elemental damage to electricity. This means the Helminth Claw will inflict frequent electricity procs, perfect for spreading status and applying consistent damage over time across clustered targets. It doesn't override secondary elements from other sources, like Momentous Bond. Hunter Synergy is here to tap into my primary weapon's critical chance. 30% of that base value is added to the Helminth Charger's crit chance. Since this build is already running a crit optimized loadout, that bonus is significant. Precision Conditioning adds plus 385% melee damage and converts all base physical damage into slash. This guarantees that the Claw's primary hits are delivering slash procs, which are essential for long-duration bleed damage. With this build, the Helminth Claw becomes a proper offensive tool. High crits, reliable slash, fast procs, and elemental layering. It's not just riding alongside Oraxia, it's helping carry the momentum. Now that wraps up with my full build of tuning Oraxia as a pure weapons platform, with everything from ability synergy to companion support designed to push a red crit secondary to its limits. If you've been looking to experiment beyond the typical Kuva Sobek setups, or you just want something that feels sharp, responsive, and rewarding to pilot, this build gives you that without sacrificing performance. Just a suggestion, you got to try beam type primary weapons with this build if you don't like secondaries as your main weapon. If you found anything in this breakdown useful, or you're planning to try parts of this setup yourself, feel free to leave a comment or drop a like. And if you want more builds explained like this, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. I'm still new to creating Warframe content, and your support, even just liking and sharing this video, helps the channel grow and get closer to monetization. I appreciate you watching, Tenno. Catch you in the next one.